All right, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to the BK Nothing But Nets podcast. Also, the Nets Press Presents YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. Today, we're doing something that we have all been looking forward to for a very long time. This is my first official 2026 NBA mock draft. Yes, we're starting earlier than last year. This is going to be a very, very fun year, especially for some of these bottom tier teams: Washington, Utah, Brooklyn. You even got teams like OKC in the mix because of that Clippers pick. There's going to be a ton of excitement, a ton of tanking, and a ton of talent coming into the league this upcoming year. As always, joined
I
with
gotta ask a
Gary,
question
the
real quick.
man.
I gotta ask a
What's
question
up?
real quick.
Let's start it. Start it off.
I'm watching. I'm not watching the Jet game because I hate them, right? And I'm not watching again until Aaron Glenn is fired. They got 17 first half points. Justin Fields is 3 for 6 for 5 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interceptions. Brees Hall has only carried the ball for 29 yards. So how the hell have you scored 17? I'm not watching it, so I don't know. I'm just saying, how have you scored?
What does Fields have rushing yards wise?
What was that? Hall's
said,
got 29. He's their leading rusher, and he got and Fields is throwing for 5.
So what I'm hearing is the Jets defense is better without Sauce
Is
Gardner.
that Sauce Gardner?
So that's what it looks like, right? I mean, oh, you guys
I'm
aren't
not.
even winning. It's 17 to
It's
17.
7,
All right.
but yeah, 17. But they scored 17
Jesus.
points, and they have 5 passing.
Oh yeah, you guys have 2 defensive touchdowns. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Confirmed. You guys are
Justin
better
Fields
without
really
Sauce
worked out.
Gardner.
Thank you for Justin Fields, by the way. That was the gift that keeps on giving.
I know it's back to some draft because nobody needs to hear about the depression of my Steelers as well as his Jets. Let's get right into it. This is my first official mock draft of the year. As I said, this is probably I'm 23. I turn 24 next month. You know, this is probably the best draft class I've personally seen with my own eyes from top to bottom. I was saying this before we had started. I truly do believe that this class can, produce 6 to 10 different all-stars. So let's get right into it. If you want to scroll down a little bit, we're gonna do some
On your Substack,
descriptions. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. If you want to, we're gonna do some descriptions on some of these players, and then we are going to also do some highlight clips of certain players that I personally wanted to break down a bit more. The top 3, I think pretty much everybody knows. We're going to start off with the Washington Wizards here. No, I did not do a lottery simulation. I used Tankathon's rankings for the lottery to make this list. Once Fanspo releases their 2026 mock draft, we will get into it from there with lottery simulation. So first overall pick, the Washington Wizards select Darryn Peterson, guard out of Kansas. This is a player who many people are starting to finally recognize. Even though he was the #1 player in high school coming out, if you look at his social medias, it does not look like people knew a lot about him. But he has already quickly taken over the college scene. Many NBA players and executives have come out and said they feel he could have come out of high school and ready to go in the NBA. This is a guy who truly has similarities to Kobe Bryant. And there's been players in the past who have gotten this comp, but I don't think there's somebody who's matched the description as much as Darryn Peterson has. In terms of his 3-level scoring, he can space the floor, he can get to his spots easily, he utilizes the floater to perfection, and he can finish at the rim with his athleticism or his finesse. I think that this is one of the best American prospects I've witnessed in my lifetime. I personally think that he may actually be a better overall prospect than Zion Williamson and Cade Cunningham were. So very high praise for him. I think as of right now, he is the unanimous #1 overall pick. I think any team in the league could use him, especially a team like Washington, who's kind of 50-50 on whether or not Bub Carrington's going to be the lead guard of the future for them. I know that I mentioned his scoring, but this guy also has the intensity of an all-defensive caliber player, especially at the guard position. He's 6'5", 6'6", has the length, has the versatility, has the athleticism to keep up with the 1 through 3 in this league. And not to mention his IQ as a playmaker, too. He's not selfish. He's not going to force up shots. He's extremely efficient, and he's also a really good playmaker. So Darryn Peterson takes our #1 spot to start the year, and I really do think that he is going to be the unanimous #1 overall pick.
That was my question, which you answered. I mean, is this unanimous? Because I know it's very, very top heavy. The top 3-4 picks are very, but you're saying.
I mean, I think that this is now a six-headed monster. I really do think the 1st through 6 options all are #1 caliber pick type players. Koa Pete, probably not. I may be giving him a bit too much praise to start, but I do think with his performance against Florida that he is going to be a top 8 pick lock. I do think Caleb Wilson, I do think Nate Ament are guys who could be #1 overall caliber players. Do I think that they're going to surpass Peterson or Boozer? Probably not. But do I think there's a real chance Caleb Wilson can surpass AJ DeBansta? 100%. DeBansta, like I said, reminds me a lot of Ace Bailey, just more polished and a better defender, right? DeBansta by far is a better prospect than Ace Bailey is, but when you have a guy like Caleb Wilson right behind him with what he's done in his first 2 games, he lost to AJ DeBansta in BYU, but he outperformed DeBansta, and then he just took down Darryn Peterson in Kansas the other night. So I do think Caleb Wilson is going to be in the mix for that 3rd overall pick, depending on the team. He reminds me a lot. I mean, you know what? Let me not get too far into Caleb Wilson since we're going to break him down here shortly. But I got a couple of comps that I really like for him that I think some people are going to be surprised about. Number 2 on our list is
Brooklyn
Cam
Nets.
Boozer. This is a Brooklyn Nets pick here. I think that this is one of the best overall fits for Brooklyn, especially if you miss out on Peterson. I think this is a guy that so many people are like not really taking seriously. And the reason I say that is because there's nothing flashy about his game. He reminds me a lot of like a mixture between Paolo Banchero, Scotty Barnes, and a little bit of his dad, Carlos Boozer, in terms of rebounding. This is a guy that just does everything fundamentally well. He can space the floor. He can get to his spots in the mid-range. He's a great finisher at the rim. He has a really good post game as well. Defensively, he is a menace. He's snatching blocks left and right. He's able to keep up with the 1 through 4. I think this is a guy who really is being undervalued by many people that aren't really kind of analyzing his game the way that they should be. Boozer, to me, is going to be an incredible player in this league. I think he's going to be one of the best immediate impact players in the league coming out of this draft because of his already NBA-ready frame and size. Also, his skill set as a playmaker, rebounder, scorer. He can do a little bit of everything. The fit with Yegor Demon and this coaching staff with Jordi Fernandez in Brooklyn, I think would also be a perfect fit for him. A team that really values defense and non-selfish play. I think Boozer is everything that Brooklyn would need. Do I personally, as a Nets fan, feel that Boozer would be the best pick for us? No, of course, I think it's Peterson. But if that's your second option, then by all means, that he'd be one of the best fits you can get. What are your thoughts on Boozer this year? Do you think that he is going to be the number 2 overall pick? Could he bump his way up into number 1, or do you think DeBansta and Caleb Wilson can overtake him?
This is tough because DeBansta and Boozer are both physically very impressive. They're just physically impressive in different ways. I got to see more of the. I saw Cam Boozer play against Texas, and although he didn't have the prettiest stat line, you can see he's physically dominant, right? He's a man amongst boys, even if he didn't, have the real pretty stat line where he's shooting, 60% from the field. But you can see this guy's physically quite impressive. This guy's going to be a problem. DeBansta is also an athletic freak, right? He's not built like a brick shit house like Boozer. Yeah. To me, I think if given these 2 choices, if the Nets pick 2, I think Bucks would go the other way. I think he would go with DeBansta.
Interesting. I mean, I could very well see that being the case simply because of the BYU connection with Yegor. And you have to remember, too, BYU is coached by, what is it? Is it Kevin Young, if I'm not mistaken, the former assistant coach of the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah.
He was up for a couple of head coaching positions in the NBA and ultimately decided to go to BYU. So BYU's running an NBA caliber system. So in terms of readiness, I really don't think you could go wrong ever drafting a Duke guy in the top 3. It's just historically been one of the best schools in terms of drafting high caliber prospects. But I think both would be great fits in Brooklyn simply because the Nets are in a dire need of a superstar wing. And I've said this for many years. In the NBA, you need your best player to be your wing, right? More times than not, having a superstar caliber wing is going to get you far in the playoffs, right? Jokic and Embiid are exceptions. Steph Curry is an exception. But when you really look at the history of the NBA and who the best players are on many teams, LeBron, KD, Kawhi, these are all wings. And I think it's a wings league in terms of who you need to be your best player. So I completely agree. I think DeBansta and Boozer are great fits. I think they're actually better fits than Peterson is. But in terms of what the Nets are currently at in their rebuild, you're probably going best player available no matter what. So
Yeah.
to me, as of right now, if you're going based on best player available, it would be Peterson, Boozer, and then DeBansta.
It's wild that the bench is the third best player in the draft
I
because
know.
you watch him, you're like, my God.
I know. I mean, realistically, I think that he would have gone potentially third overall this year, too. I do think that Dylan Harper is a more polished player, and I think that he's a
It
guard that
depends.
many people need.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right?
Like, as of
This,
right now, if you were to re-rank and combine both classes, I think that you have Peterson going number 1. I think you have Flagg going number 2. You would have Boozer
but why
going
are you taking
3.
Flagg? And maybe you would, but
Mhm.
Flagg just because of his physical body is more impressive. Than, but like, why
I
Flagg
think that
over the
his
Benson?
NBA readiness as a playmaker, as a scorer, as an efficient scorer, and as a just overall team fit, I think that his athleticism and his IQ is off the charts. He's not
Yeah,
being played properly in Dallas, and I think many people are starting to see that now with them trying to run him at the point guard. That's a disservice to what he brings to the table. But also, you have to remember, too, this is a guy who is supposed to be in this year's draft class, right? He is extremely young
yeah.
for the NBA. So for him to be doing what he's doing already, I'm not expecting him to come in and put up 20, 25 points per game, 6 to 8 rebounds, 5 to 7 assists off rip. There's going to be struggles with Flagg in the NBA because of his size and his frame. He doesn't have the size and frame that Boozer has in terms of NBA readiness, but his athleticism, his IQ, and the way that he can get to his spots is already of NBA readiness. I don't think Dallas, though, was the right team for him. So it'll be interesting to see how he progresses throughout the season. But you also have to remember, too, Flagg came into the college basketball scene struggling the first 5 to 6 games as well, right? Everybody was debating, oh, I mean, he doesn't look that great. Maybe it is Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey going number 1 because of this. And then he just took off from there. So I expect the same thing to happen with Flagg in the NBA. I think that in terms of readiness, he's there, but in terms of the way that he's being played, it's just not properly the way he's supposed to be used. So, like I said, if I was to re-rank both classes combined, I think you got Peterson going number 1, Flagg going number 2, Boozer going number 3. I would say you probably have Harper going number 4, and then you would have DeBansta, Caleb Wilson going 5 and 6, and then probably VJ at 7, and then you would probably have the remainder of the 2026 class, like 3 or 4 picks before Ace Bailey. So, in terms of how stacked this class is compared to last year,
How is
it
Ace
is
doing? I haven't really got to watch Ace yet
he's not
because
doing
it's
good.
Utah.
He's
Yeah,
not doing good.
I didn't. I haven't seen him because it's Utah. I'm probably not gonna watch too
Yeah.
much of him this year. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's averaging like 5 points, 3 rebounds. He's shooting below
Okay.
36% from the field, below 25% from three. He's really struggling over there. Um, but the third overall pick in this one, it does go to the Indiana Pacers. Like I said, I did not do a lottery simulation. I just went based on Tankathon's lottery projections a couple of days ago, probably like 4 days ago. So the Indiana Pacers here fall to number 3, picking up AJ DeBansta. I think that this would be an absolutely perfect fit for a team like Indiana. Of course, it's going to suck seeing a team that was just in the finals being a top 5 pick potentially. So hurts to see that, but in terms of the fit with Tyrese Halliburton, with Pascal Siakam, I think DeBansta brings everything that they need. They would still be missing out on a big man. I think that's something they need to search for, whether it be in the trade market or in free agency this upcoming season, if they want to get back to that championship caliber team. But I do think DeBansta will be an immediate impact in the NBA as well.
Caleb
Moving
Wilson.
on to
This is
number 4.
yeah.
Yep. So if you want,
This is the one
let's head
that's
over to the video.
jumping up draft chart. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he is flying up boards. This is a guy who many had projected between 7 through 12 to start the year. I personally had him in my top 6. So it'll be interesting to see how he progresses throughout the remainder of the season. But this is a guy to me who, as of right now, is the 4th overall pick. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think as of right now, he is more polished, he's more NBA ready, and I think he's slightly better overall than Nate Ament is, than Koa Pete is, than Chris Sinek Jr. is, all of these guys. So we're going to show some clips here against his game against Kansas. As you can see, the athleticism is off the charts. He can get to his spots with ease. He's got a nice handle post game, pull up jumpers. He's got it all. To me, and this is where I mentioned before that I think the comp that I'm going to give him could be a bit overboard, but I do see a lot of Kevin Garnett in him and Scotty Barnes. If you remember Scotty Barnes when he was at Florida State, He was able to get to his spots very easily. He was a very good playmaker. He was athletic. He was a great defender. And I think that if you mix those two together with Garnett and Barnes, that you're getting Caleb Wilson here. Even just that, the athleticism and the floater that he has, that's very Kevin Garnett-like. And then not to mention, too, the defensive ability of Caleb Wilson. He could be one of the best defenders in this draft class.
Let me ask you that, right? Because you can see he's got a little mid-range game, a little turnaround, a little fadeaway. How does that translate in today's NBA, where your bigs are like usually one in the dunker spot and then four guys? How does that little midi game, which is pretty, how does that translate to the next level?
He can space the floor. It's not like he can't.
Like I like that. Like that's old school. Let's call Malone right there.
Oh, 100%. He can space the floor with ease. He really hasn't had to utilize his three ball because of his athleticism and post game at the college level. But I've seen him play where he's able to space the floor and knock down threes with ease. So I don't think that the style of play that he's currently playing at in UNC is going to be his overall game in the NBA. I do think he's going to be more of that stretch four, like a two-way stretch four where he can do everything. But primarily being, a guy that can put the ball on the floor, create his own shot, like you see here. I mean, he's doing it with ease, and he's doing it against Darryn Peterson, of course. Kansas has a great team this year, like they do every year. So to see him be able to dominate Kansas the way that he did defensively and offensively, the way that he was able to keep up with Dembele, he actually outperformed him in terms of stat lines. I think that this is a guy who truly has the ability to be that third overall prospect, potentially over Dembele, depending on how they finish their seasons off.
All right, you want to move on to number 5?
Let's move on to number 5.
You got to
so
with,
in terms of Wilson, though, I had him going to Atlanta via the New Orleans Pelicans pick, which to me is a great fit. I think that when you look at the overall team that they have over in Atlanta, especially if they can get the extension done with Trae Young, which as of right now isn't looking good, Caleb Wilson, Zachariah Richeche, Jalen Johnson, that's going to be a very scary wing trio. I do think at some point in time you're probably looking to trade Zachariah Richeche, in a package for Giannis. I do think Atlanta is going to be that team that ultimately pursues Giannis. But in terms of if you land the 4th overall pick, you got to go with who you got to go with. And I think Caleb Wilson's a guy that's going to be a potential star in this league. At number 5 was Dallas on this one. I do believe they have dropped into the 3rd or 4th spot as of right now, if I'm not mistaken. But Dallas here getting Koa Pete, I think that this is another really good fit, especially based on the skill sets of Pete and Cooper Flagg. I think those are two wings that can play off of one another, Pete being the dominant inside game, Flagg being the IQ playmaker and able to get to his spots in the mid-range at 3, etc. So I think that in terms of the overall games that they could play with one another, especially if they do end up trading Anthony Davis this year, I think that this would be a really good long-term fit. To me, Koa Pete reminds me of what Aaron Gordon was coming into the NBA, right? A lottery pick, a guy who was expected to be a star at some point in time. I think Pete has that ability to where he can be a star in the NBA. He's already got the NBA readiness in terms of frame, in terms of his inside game, in terms of his athleticism. So I think that this is a guy who's going to continue rising up boards. Do I think he's going to stay at the 5th spot the entire year for me? Probably not. I do see him falling potentially between that 6th and 8th spot. But as of right now, based on that game against Florida where he put up 30 and his recent game where he just had 18, I think that he's going to be a top 8 lock for sure.
We move on to Memphis. Nate Ament. Another guy people are speaking very highly of. I guess he's a 4. How would we describe Nate? Do we have tape on him? How would we describe
We do. I did send you one that you can pull up if you'd like. But yeah, Memphis here as of right now has 2 lottery picks. If they're smart, you're blowing it up. You're trading Ja Morant. You're getting a new era of basketball over in Memphis. You already got Cedric Coward in there, who looks to be one of the best rookies this year. I think Nate Ament for them could be a really good fit long term. Ament to me reminds me a lot of high school Michael Porter Jr. mixed with Brandon Ingram. I do see a star potential in him. He's crafty. He's shifty. He's just got an overall feel for the game as an offensive player that isn't very common for players of his age. And not to mention, too, he gained 17 pounds since going to Tennessee. So the upside on him is tremendous at 6'10". If he's able to gain a little bit more weight and muscle, this is a guy who could be very dominant in the NBA if given the right situation. And I think playing alongside a high-caliber defender in Jaren Jackson Jr., a two-way guy in Cedric Coward, I think Memphis would be a great fit for him right now as of the 6th overall pick.
All right. Uh, I'm losing track of where I am. Hang on. Let me hang on. I got you. Let's get back to the draft here. My bad.
No, you're good. I was gonna say we got time. We're breaking down this class, man. This is the first time we're getting to do it this year, so it's all excitement. I mean, really, like I said at the beginning, this is the best overall NBA draft class that I've seen in my lifetime. I do think that there, 10, 15 years down the line, there are going to be people who say that this class is better than the '03 class. And I'm not saying LeBron's coming out of this class, right? I'm not saying the greatest player of all time has the potential to come out of this
Well,
class.
you comped Darryn Peterson to the greatest player of all time. That was your opening comp.
Third or fourth best player of all time, yes. But
all right, let's not do this again. But
my point is, right, is I don't expect there to be a LeBron or Michael Jordan that comes out of this class. I more so think that this is the greatest draft class of all time that I physically have seen because the 1 through 10 in this class all have all-star potential, right? I don't think that there has been a draft class that has produced more than 5 or 6 all-stars ever, right? So I think that this class has that ability to do
96 produced a lot. You know what? You talk about Chris Sinak, and I will look that up. Which draft class? I'm going to say it's 96, but let's see.
I'm pretty sure it is 96, and they have a ton of great guys that came out of it. I think that in terms of the all-star production that could be put into the NBA, this class compares with that, if not slightly more players who could be all-stars.
96, 11
guys were all-stars in that one? Damn. Yeah, I mean, this class has that caliber of option.
Yeah, to make at least one all-star game. So, like, Marcus Camby and Zydrunas Ilgauskas are on the list.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, like I said, I think this class compares to that. You got Peterson, Boozer, DeBansta, Wilson, Koa Pete, Nate Ament, Chris Sinak Jr., Tonda Yesafwa. I'm still butchering that name. It's going to take time to learn it. But, you got guys like Darius Acuff. We're going to get into a lot of these guys, but there are a lot of players in this draft class that have that ability to be an all-star. So with the 7th overall pick, I have the Utah Jazz selecting Chris Sinak Jr. out of Houston. He is, as of right now, one of, if not the best overall big men prospects in this year's draft. A lot of Jaren Jackson Jr. in his game. A great defensive presence at 6'10", 6'11". He can space the floor. He's dominant in the post. I think that this is a guy who would be a really good fit for that Utah team, especially with Ace Bailey as the hope and prayer for them to become a star caliber player. He hasn't hit that peak yet so far in his NBA career. But I think Utah is going to be looking to move on from Walker Kessler, especially after this season-ending injury that he just dealt with. So I think Chris Sinak Jr. could be the big man of the future for them next to Larry Markkinen.
Number 8,
a guy that many throughout the offseason before college basketball began, throughout his high school career, compared him to Anthony Edwards. The look, the play style, the athleticism, it's all there. This is a guy who has tremendous upside, a lot of VJ Edgecombe caliber hype in terms of if you're comparing him to somebody in last year's draft class. We do have video of him as well that will play. But Tonda is a guy that I expect to continue rising up draft boards. I mean, if you, even when you're just looking at him from this angle, he looks like Anthony Edwards. So to me, the overall feel offensively, the athleticism, the intensity that he brings on defense, this is a guy who is going to be a guaranteed top 10 pick. And I think for a team, I think I have him going to Memphis in this one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Here, I'll pull it up on my end. If they're landing, if they're landing Tonda Yesafwa and Nate Ament, you are really in a position to dominate the NBA landscape over the next couple of years if these guys progress into the star caliber players they can become, right? You would be putting a team together that consists of Tonda, Cedric Coward, Nate Ament, and Jaren Jackson Jr. as your 2 through 5. At that point, you're kind of just in need of a point guard and some depth, and you're really going to have a fun, young, and exciting team that will be playoff contenders in the near future. So
there is something about his offensive game that reminds you of Anthony Edwards, isn't there?
I mean, even the cuts, the movement, the way that he handles the ball, like everything about him looks like even the way that he lands on his feet. Like, I'm very OCD. If you watch clips, watch him right here. Stumbles, same recovery as Anthony Edwards, same movements. Like, everything about his game reminds me of Anthony Edwards at a just taller version of him. It's just it's remarkable to see how some of these players. I mean, think about it. Anthony Edwards was a top 3 pick. Now you got guys like Tonda who play exactly like him, who could be 6 through 10. So it just goes to show how much the NBA is developing players of high caliber, and how players like this could be looked at as 6th through 10th
It
picks in
is
this
eerie.
year's
Like if
draft.
I didn't know that Anthony Edwards went to Georgia, and you just showed me this clip, and you
Mhm.
said who's number 24, I would say that's Anthony Edwards. Like
Mhm.
it's that similar to his game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the way
If
that
you
he's
can
built
tear up
physically.
UT, if you can tear up UT Rio Grande Valley, you can tear up anybody.
I was going to say, I mean, we're going to get a nice matchup for him tonight where he takes on who I have as a lottery projected pick in Hannes Steinbeck and Washington University. So that game's tonight at 8:30 Eastern if you want to watch a nice little matchup today.
That'll be stiffer comp than UT RGB.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Oh, guys, if you are single and you're looking for a campus with really good looking chicks, UTRGV is the one for you. I'll just put that out there. I'm not saying they're the smartest. I'm just saying if you want a campus with good looking co-eds, UTRGV is the school for you.
Oh, Jesus. I was going to say, I mean, UT kept it a pretty solid game, too. I mean, they're only down 14 in this with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm about to
unranked mid-tier caliber program. Yeah, I mean, they didn't. I mean, look at that. They were leading in the first. They kept it competitive. But yeah, moving on to what I believe is the 9th overall pick on my class. This is a guy who we're likely not going to see for a majority of the season, and that's Kentucky big man Jaden Quinnance. Again, I could be mispronouncing that last name. This was a kid who reclassed last year, was not eligible for the NBA draft class due to age. He was a freshman at ASU. And then later on transferred to Kentucky for this year. But I think the Charlotte Hornets at the 9th overall pick with what they're currently building, I've been saying it for the past year since they traded Mark Williams, they are in dire need of a big man. Jaden, a bit smaller for what you would hope for as a center, but I do think that he could play it. He's 6'9", 6'10", around that range.
But he's 255, so now he's
so he's got stretch.
Center.
He's got stretch four abilities. Do I think that he's a great floor spacer and 3-point shooter? No. I do have him comped right now as a modern day DeAndre Jordan, just in terms of paint dominance and athleticism at the rim. But overall defensive ability, the way that he's able to move on his feet for his size and stay at the perimeter, and then just his overall paint dominance reminds me a lot of him. So I've got him currently at number 9. A lot of people have him in their top 7. But in terms of the injury that he's coming off of, he did tear his ACL. He won't be back until about somewhere between January and late February. I don't think that he's going to be a guy that's going to necessarily rise on many draft boards, but I also don't think he's a guy that's going to fall due to that injury. So I've got him projected between about 7 through 12 on my big boards at the moment.
And this was shocking to me, not because he's 10, because he fell to 10, but I guess that just speaks to the depth of the draft class. This is a guy I like a lot. I've gotten to watch some film on him. Go ahead, Charlotte.
So Charlotte's got
9 and 10.
Charlotte at the moment when I did this draft class was projected 9 and 10 because of that Orlando pick. But here is a guy who, to me, reminds me a lot of Donovan Mitchell, just a better defensive version of him, and that's Mikal Brown Jr. Same pathway to the NBA. He is at Louisville, which is maybe a bit biased in terms of the comparison that I'm making. But in terms of the offensive ability, the IQ, the athleticism, the speed, the ability to finish at the rim reminds me a lot of Donovan Mitchell. So I got Charlotte taking their potential LaMelo Ball replacement. There is a lot of talks whether or not LaMelo will be in Charlotte long term due to his injury history, his willingness, just his overall love for the game. There's been some questions about that. So I do think that they will be looking for his replacement at some point shortly. And again, if you have a young core that consists of Mikal Brown Jr., Con Kneppel, Brandon Miller, and Jaden Quinnance, I think you're in a really good spot long term. So I think that this is a nice refresh for them if they do decide to ultimately move LaMelo Ball at some point this season or during the offseason.
All right. Hang on.
Probably just have to click on the little dark area to get out of that.
I got it all messed up here. What am I? What the hell's going on? Oh, just click this thing. All right, here we go.
Moving on to the 11th overall pick, we're starting to narrow down towards the end of the lottery, and that's the Sacramento Kings selecting one of my favorite overall prospects in this year's draft class, which is Arkansas guard Darius Acuff. Undersized for the NBA.
I was going to say that's the concern. Is he going to still be a lot? He's little. You watch him, he's little.
Yeah. I do think that he is going to be a lottery pick. This is a guy who reminds me a lot of a mixture between Allen Iverson and Trey Mann. In terms of what his floor and his ceiling could be, he's dominant. If you look at his IQ, his playmaking ability, his handle, his finishing ability at his size, the way that he's able to get to his spots, create space, space the floor, everything to his game is a beauty for his size. And I think that a team like Sacramento, who, if they decide to keep Sabonis, this could be a player that is an immediate impact fit for them. Devin Carter, who they drafted in the lottery 2 years ago, clearly isn't the option at guard for them. I do think at some point in time they are going to look to move in on Jonathan Kuminga by moving away from Malik Monk. I think they're going to try and get rid of DeMar DeRozan at some point in the near future. So a nice little retool around Darius Acuff Jr., Jonathan Kuminga, and Sabonis could be something that they could work around. And no, he's not a junior. I mixed that up with Mikal, so don't mind me. At number 12, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the team that just refuses to stay out of high overall draft slots, selecting Braylon Mullins out of UConn. This is a guy that I personally haven't done too much research into. If you guys read the article, you knew that I made this mock draft based on a couple of different categories, comparing and contrasting some ESPN, Bleacher Report, No Ceilings, all of these guys' mock drafts, and then, of course, looking at different rankings and also some personal research that I've done. Some people have Mullins going top 9. To me, I stuck him at 12 because, like I said, I didn't do too much research into him. I don't want to overvalue him, undervalue him, but I think with the guys that I have ahead of him, that this is a perfect fit here at number 12 for a team like OKC. A kid that can space the floor, shoot at will, and put the ball on the floor to create his own shot. I think that this is a nice little bench piece for them, especially if they look to move on from guys like Isaiah Joe here in the near future to upgrade the depth of the team. I think Braylon Mullins is a nice little fit for that contending roster over in OKC.
I was just going to say, I don't know much about the 6'6" white boy. I'm guessing he's a shooter?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to see. I could be mixing him up with somebody. Let's see. I'm going to pull up some stats here to see if he's played yet this season. Let's see. So, yeah, he has not played yet this season. He is dealing with that injury. I got to figure out what the injury is exactly, but I do remember talking to, shout out Tyler Rucker over at No Ceilings. That's my guy. I try and pick his brain a little bit here and there in terms of draft prospects and things of that nature. And also shout out to No Ceilings. They do a fantastic job with their overall, the team that they've built, the guys that they have producing draft content.
Can we get him on? Can we get him on to do a mock draft one day?
I'll 100% reach out to him and see what his schedule is looking like. But, I mean, they're fantastic over there. Yeah, Braylon Mullins is out for 6 weeks. It is an ankle injury, so that's why I have him dropped on my board a little bit. But this is a guy who has been projected top 10 by many. So moving on to the 13th overall pick, and a guy that I just mentioned prior who is taking on Tonda and Baylor tonight at 8:30 is Hannes Steinbeck, and this is a perfect Boston Celtics fit in terms of what they are in need of. No, not because of the skin color, but simply because of the play style. No, I actually this is a guy who I truly do think is a perfect fit for them, though, just based on play style. They're a team that is in kind of a need of a long-term big man. And his ability to put the ball on the floor, space the floor, defensive presence, post game. I think a lot of his game translates really well with what Boston's going to look to add next to Tatum and Brown for next season. There is a lot of question marks on whether or not Boston will be in the contending picture, depending on how Jason Tatum comes back from injury, whether or not they look to flip Derek White, who's having an off season. There's going to be a lot of changes in Boston, and I think Hannes Steinbeck could be a really good foundational piece for Boston long term. At 6'11", like I said, the ability to just space the floor, be a paint presence with his size, the athleticism that he brings, and the IQ that he brings on both ends of the floor are above the charts for what a 13th overall pick should be. So I think that this is a really good fit for Boston at 13. Moving on to 14, a guy who...
We have film on him, right?
We do. So if you go to the chat, I actually have film on Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas in the same video, so we'll break both of them down here in a second. But Malik Thomas is a guy who's rising up my boards tremendously. Originally a player who I didn't know too much about, was kind of comparing to Cam Thomas at first because of his scoring ability. But when you look at his game, the 2 games that he's played so far this season, there's a lot of Trey Murphy in this kid. The ability to rebound, the ability to play make, the athleticism as a scorer. everything is off the charts for him. Originally a guy that I had starting this season in the 20 through 25 range, now already boosted up to the lottery. So
No,
showing
we're on
clips
tape.
here first of Darius Acuff. What'd you say?
Oh no, we're good. I got we're good, right?
Yeah,
We're
this is
good.
Acuff here. The next couple of clips will be Malik Thomas. They kind of combined them into one, but really, really nice showing for them in the first game of the season. I mean, as you can see, the ability to finish at the rim, get to his spots. Acuff is a kid who,
I'm on the
though
sideline.
undersized.
Brazil back iron, poked out.
You doing all right over there?
Yeah, I think so. Who's here? Yeah, hang on.
By Pringle, Thomas claims it. Skip back.
But yeah, I mean, just the overall duo of these two at Arkansas right now is extremely exciting. Both offensive powerhouses, Malik Thomas being able to do a little bit of everything. You know, I think Arkansas could really go far this year. They did just lose to Michigan State, I believe, last night. But this is a team that I expect to have some deep March Madness pushes this year. I mean, if you watch Thomas coming off of the screen here, able to get to his spot in the corner, I believe Thomas finished with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in this game. So really, really nice overall game on all ends of the floor. So he's getting my 14th overall slot. I believe I have him going to Miami. So a nice little fit next to Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo long term. I'm not sure if he's going to be a long-term small forward. May have to try and transition one of Tyler Hero or Malik Thomas to the point guard spot if you want them to play alongside of each other long term. But I think Malik Thomas is a guy who Miami could desperately use as a long-term piece next to their current core.
Just wanted to update the Jet fans. Justin Fields is now up to 12 passing yards.
There you go. Progression.
At the end of the third quarter.
That's called progress, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. I digress. Back to the draft.
Moving outside of the lottery, the 15th overall pick on this mock draft of the season is, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name. I will learn it at some point, but this is Sean, the guard out of Cincinnati. He is 6'8". The upside on him is tremendous. This is a guy who I actually didn't even hear of until the college basketball season started. He hasn't really had a crazy game just yet. I believe he's 2 or 3 games into his current season. A lot of people have him projected in their top 12. I personally had him left just outside of the lottery for me. I do think that the performances he's had so far isn't of lottery contention, but at 6'8", the ability to score at will, a very solid perimeter defender and playmaker, I think this is a kid who would be a really good fit long-term next to a guy like Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, a team that is really in need of a guard with some size, especially because Anthony Edwards is only 6'4". Getting a guard with some size that can do a little bit of everything. So I think he's going to continue rising up boards. I don't see him being a lottery pick for the majority of the season. Is there a chance that he can get into that 12 through 14 range? Maybe. But I do see him being more so a mid-tier first-round caliber player between that 14 through 18 spot. At number 16, I've got the San Antonio Spurs via the Atlanta Hawks taking one of my favorite players in college basketball currently. Yes, I am a Duke guy, but that is sophomore forward Isaiah Evans. At 6'6", I don't see him being a star in this league, but I do see comparisons to Brandon Ingram in terms of his overall game. There are a lot of abilities that he has offensively where he is able to put the ball on the floor and get to his spots. He is a great catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. He was one of the leaders last year in terms of efficiency. And I think for a team that's looking to really take that next step and elevate into a true championship contender, the San Antonio Spurs are a perfect fit for a guy like Isaiah Evans. You'd have a core that consists of De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, Isaiah Evans, Wemby. The team just has everything that you need in terms of size, versatility, scoring, and defense. So I think that that's a perfect fit for them there.
All right.
At number 17, we've got our third Duke product going in the top 17 with Dame Sarr. This is an Italian prospect who came from overseas to play at Duke this year. At 19 years old, 6'8", the versatility that he has as a defender, as an offensive weapon. He hasn't really had the ability to showcase his true offensive ability, but I do see a lot of upside in him as a mid-tier first-round pick. A guy that some people have him projected in the lottery. Me personally, I'm not going to overvalue my Duke guys. I do think that as a mid-first round pick, especially for a team like Toronto, coming off the bench to start his career will give him that ability to develop into what they hope that he could be, which will be a nice little two-way caliber role. I don't see him being a star, but I do see him being a high caliber role player.
And as someone who has a mom who was born and raised in Italy, he doesn't look very Italian to me. Just putting that out there.
He is born and raised in Italy, from my understanding. I know that he played overseas for the first couple of years of his career, but yeah, coming over to Duke, I like the upside on him, man. He's a very interesting prospect, especially with that size, the athleticism, the versatility. He is a very well-rounded prospect as of right now.
And
Coming in at number,
I thought this guy was drafted last year. I guess
I know,
not.
I know. Yeah,
back.
coming in at number 18.
Yeah,
I know. I've got him sprouting up some boards. He didn't have a crazy performance like he did at UAB, but Michigan product Yaxel Lendeborg coming in for, I believe, his 5th season. He's 23. This is a senior now. I do like the fit, though, for him in Golden State. This is a team that has spent a lot of money on Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry to kind of contend towards the later ends of their careers. I do think that they are going to be looking at some form of prospect who's going to be NBA ready. Yaxel Lendeborg, a guy who can score at will, a guy who can get to the paint at will, has great size, has great speed, has great athleticism, and an incredible rebounder and playmaker for his size at 6'9". I do think that this is a guy they could really utilize as a Jonathan Kuminga replacement for when the time comes to move on from him. So I like him there at 18. I don't think he's going to go any further up for me just because of his age in terms of upside. But if a team like Golden State, OKC at 19 here, I think a team like that will snag him within a heartbeat.
You cook on Kareem Lopez. I need to get another cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Kareem Lopez at number 19 again. OKC has 3 to 4 first-round picks as of right now. Who knows if they're going to fully utilize these picks? But at number 19, I have Kareem Lopez, a New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, New Zealand product, overseas international player. This is a guy who many have projected in their top 10. I don't see it. I'm not going to buy into the hype. I do think that with his size and versatility, he does have tremendous upside, but I don't think he's going to be of lottery caliber in terms of how great this draft class is. With OKC, though, again, this is a team who every year you think they need to trade these picks because they can't hold any more players on that roster, but somehow, some way, they find a way to do it. So at 19, I have them going with Kareem Lopez. At 6'9", I believe he is, if not 6'8", able to space the floor with at will. He's a great rebounder. He's got an already NBA readiness in terms of body. I do think that that's going to be a kid who has a tremendous amount of upside on him as a mid-first round pick.
Another guy we spent a lot of time talking about last year, LeBron Filan.
Yes, LeBaron Filan coming in at number 20 as a sophomore at Alabama. This was a guy who was projected in that 20 through 30 range last year for many of us. Ended up staying in college and is already starting to take over the college scene as a sophomore. I do have him currently at 20 going to Milwaukee, simply based on the fact that Milwaukee is in need of that kind of it factor point guard to play alongside Giannis if they are able to keep him long term. This is a guy who can score at will, get to his spots, an incredible playmaker. 6'4", has the athleticism of a guard that will really be solid in this league. Again, do I see a star in him? Probably not. But in terms of your third option, I think he could be one of the better prospects in this draft class to be a complementary piece on a contending team. Coming in with our fourth Duke prospect of the first round is I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. I'm not good with names. We've got Pat over here, the center from Duke. He is a sophomore this year at 6'11". The versatility that he brings on both ends of the floor is very nice. Not an incredible offensive player, but a very nice paint presence and defender. He's got some athleticism to his game for his size at 250 at 6'11". A team like Chicago, a team that I have currently projected to be the lead favorites to land Anthony Davis via trade. They are in the process of looking at potentially moving on from Nikola Vucevic, who's on an expiring contract. I think Pat could be a really good complementary piece at the big man position long-term for them. And at 22, again, this is a guy who many have currently projected lottery. I will not buy into the hype of a senior. I do think that age does matter in terms of draft classes. And at number 22, I have the Atlanta Hawks via the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Bennett Sturtz. He is going to be a guy who is mentioned as potentially a National Player of the Year candidate alongside JT Toppin, but I do see Sturtz being in that 18 through 24 range when it comes to this draft class. Again, simply based on age. But a team like Atlanta, who is 50-50 as of right now, whether or not they're going to be able to keep Trae Young long term. I do think that this is a kid who, if they decide to trade Trae Young and they are able to get a package that still keeps them in that contender conversation with what they were able to build this offseason, I think Starks can be a plug-in, ready-to-go type of guy that could lead that team. Do I see a star in him? Again, no, but a high-caliber role player, a guy that's going to be a perfect fit on many teams, yes, I do see that in him. At number 23 with the New York Knicks.
This is just ridiculous with Duke now.
It's insane the amount of prospects they have, man. At number 23, Nicholas Kamania. I'm not good with last names. I made the attempt for this one at least, but this is another international prospect who did come over to Duke. He is at 6'8", a forward. Again, hasn't really gotten the opportunities just yet at Duke, but he has shown flashes of being a really solid stretch four in this league. I think he's a bit undersized to play the four, but I also don't think he's athletic enough to play the three. So there is going to be some question marks on some of his abilities. But a team like New York, a team who's currently contending, who's got a ton of vets on the team, I think they could use a nice little project, high upside player that can be a potential replacement for Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby if and when the time comes where that taxpayer second apron comes into effect. So I do see the Knicks here at 23 being a really solid fit for him. A guy that can space the floor, get to his spots, hasn't really had too much of the opportunity to put the ball on the floor, but there has been some flashes with him at Duke so far in these two games. Coming in at number 24, another upperclassman. This is junior Florida forward Thomas Haw. Again, a guy who's just going to be an immediate plug-in, ready-to-go player off the bench. No, not too crazy of an upside on him for at least me personally, but I also said the same thing about Cedric Coward, who was a senior last year and missed the season because of injury. So I do see him as a guy that can be a plug-in, ready-to-go role player for a contending team. A great fit alongside Cleveland and what they have currently going on for them. Again, another team, though, that's going to need to maneuver around that second apron at some point here shortly. So I think that at 6'9", his ability to space the floor, he's got some athleticism to his game. Don't let him fool you. He can get to his spots and finish at the rim as well. So I do see a nice little upside in him, especially as a junior. At 25, as you can see, this was made 3 or 4 days ago. We have Nicholas Avdilas. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly as well. Another international product at 6'9". He is able to play the 1 through 3. And this is a guy who just came off of a 33-point performance over, I don't know exactly who they played, but it was last night that he did drop 33. I believe he finished with 6 rebounds, 7 assists, if I'm not mistaken. I could be a little off. There could be a little bit more to his stat line, but we do have video of him. I actually think it is the game from last night. If you want to pop that one up right now, this will be the last player that we show. Yeah, this will be the last player that we show some form of videos for. But Avdilas has a tremendous amount of upside. This is a guy who, on September 28th, and I made sure to remember the date as to when I had posted this, but I had named 4 players who I felt were my biggest sleepers of the year in terms of how far they can rise up draft boards. That was Avdilas, Caleb Wilson, Dame Sarr, and I'm missing one person. I'll have to pull it up. But there was another guy that I had on here who I felt had tremendous upside as a sleeper prospect in this league. Let's see. Hold on a second. I've got this. Let's see. But yeah, as you can see here, coming off of a crazy performance, I believe we'll showcase the stat line after the video. Listen, I'm trying not to overdo anything here, but if you're watching him play and you tell me he doesn't look like Luka with a little bit more speed, I don't know what to tell you. The way that he's able to slow down, play at his own pace, get to his spots, finish at the rim. The step back 3 looks a little familiar as well. This is a guy who I do think
the Luka comp,
yeah, this is a guy who's going to have tremendous amount of upside. I do think that he will finish as a potential lottery pick for me this year in terms of draft rankings. But in terms of the overall game, with his size, with his versatility, his IQ, this is a guy who's going to be a really fun prospect for many leading up to NBA draft night. What are your thoughts on him? Did you get to see any of the game last night from him?
I did not. I was out last night. I didn't get to watch any basketball last night.
Damn. I was going to say, yeah, that September 28th tweet of mine where I said my personal sleepers or players I think will rise on draft boards was Caleb Wilson, Dame Sarr, Darius Acuff, and Avdilas. So
that's
aging far,
nicely, yeah.
I was going to say, so far I'm 3 for 4. I'm not going to say Dame Sarr is anything too crazy just yet, but I do have Abdelas now in my top 15, just to let you guys know. Like I said,
Dame
this draft,
Sar,
yeah,
the real Italian stallion.
coming in at number 26, we have sophomore guard Billy Richmond out of Arkansas. Again, not a guy that I've done too much research into as of yet, but I do have OKC with their first overall first round draft pick of this mock draft, and this one's coming from Houston. Again, I just think that this is a team who drafts really well, drafts smartly, drafts guys who can fit really well. At 6'6", the playmaking ability, the defensive intensity, I think that this is a guy that they can immediately plug in off the bench as well in a small minutes role to start his career while they continue to pursue championships. At number 27 to the Detroit Pistons, I have Arizona guard Braden Burris, Barrios, however you want to say it. At 6'4", though, a bit undersized to be a 2 guard. I don't really see him as a point guard in this league. He is also a bit older as a freshman. He is 20 years old. But this is a guy that I do think could be a really good fit for a team like Detroit, a team that's kind of in need to figure out whether or not they're going to keep Jaden Ivey long term. He is on an expiring contract, but a guy who could be a really nice Cade Cunningham fit. Play off ball, be a really good catch and shoot guy, but also a secondary ball handler who could put the ball on the floor, create for his teammates, and get to his spots. Like I said, I haven't done too much look into him just yet, but from the small clips that I have seen of him, he does remind me a little bit of Andrew Nembhard.
I do have a question. Why is he so old?
That's a great question. I mean, it was kind of similar with Derek Queen last year.
Yeah,
Derek Queen, I believe, is 20 years
yeah.
old now. So who knows? Maybe he reclassed. Like I said, I got to do a little bit more research into some of these guys, but he may have just reclassed to go a year backwards to play an extra year in high school because maybe he was too young for his current class. I don't know, but I'll do a bit more research.
20 as a freshman, though. I was 20 as a junior. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I was gonna say I was 18 as a senior in high school for majority of the year. So I mean, but I never got left back. I never reclassed or anything. I was born in Jersey. I moved to New York, so the cutoff dates were different for those states. I think the cutoff in Jersey was September, and the cutoff for New York was December. So if I had lived in New York my entire life, I would have been a senior at 17. But coming in at number, what is this, 28?
Another guy we talked about quite a bit.
Oh, no, you got to go up one. We got to go up to Alex Condon over here.
Yeah.
At number 28, heading to Los Angeles via the Lakers, is Alex Condon, junior forward / center out of Florida, a national championship winner over in Florida last season with Thomas Haw, returning for his third season. At 6'11", to me, this could be like the Ryan Kalkbrenner of this draft class, a guy that has a little bit of everything to his game, and especially as a seasoned veteran, you can say, at the college level. I think this is a guy that could be an immediate plug-and fit over with the Lakers, a team who is desperately in need of a long-term big man that kind of fits the Luka Doncic era that they're trying to build over there. So at 21 years old, a guy that they can just plug in behind DeAndre Ayton for his final year, I think that this could be a really nice fit for them long-term and a kid who has a little bit of upside to his game as well. Moving on to the final 2 picks. A kid who has really fallen down my.
Oh wow, yeah, he was projected much higher. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Struggling overseas, but look at the age, 17. There's a tremendous amount of upside to his game, and this is Dyson Daniels' little brother, Dash. Very, very similar play style. Not the greatest floor spacer, but extremely athletic, an incredible defender, and a very good playmaker. I do see him falling down some draft boards, but overall, I do think that he can build his way back up as well. So as of right now, I've got him 29th overall to the Chicago Bulls. Again, a team, like I said, who I have personally projected to go out and trade for Anthony Davis. If there was to be a package for him, I think it would be Vucevic, Kobe White, and then Patrick Williams. So with the draft class that I've currently built for them, what do we have them with that first pick at? Let's see, because the Bulls have 2 picks. The first pick that I had for them was, Pat, the center from Duke. And with this pick here, kind of replacing Kobe White with Dash Daniels. So kind of just doing a little bit of replacements for the current players that they would be potentially trading for Anthony Davis. But overall, I think that these are some great fits for them as well. Josh Giddey being your scorer, your playmaker, your rebounder, playing alongside another guy with versatility and Dash Daniels long-term who could be your primary defender and backup playmaker. I think there's a lot of upside with that draft class that they could put together in Chicago. And with the final pick, another guy who I do see rising on my boards here shortly is Texas Tech wing JT Toppin, the younger brother. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't even say that. I don't think he's related to Obi, if I'm not mistaken. I think I did some research on that. I don't think he's Obi Toppin's cousin, brother, anything. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I had saw something where they weren't related. But this is a guy who took big money to go back to Texas Tech this year. I think he's making $4 to $5 million over at Texas Tech to come back for his junior year. But this is a guy who, as of right now, is currently leading for National Player of the Year. He just came off of
that
a 30.
That is wild. They're not related.
Yeah, I thought I had saw that. I thought they were related because the play style is extremely similar. The athleticism is off the chart. The size is very similar as well. But yeah, I got JT Toppin rounding off our first round here. Again, a guy that I could see going in the mid-20s as well. He could potentially rise. He could potentially fall to the second round. I mean, you have to remember when guys start to get up there in age for college, there's not really a crazy amount of upside that you can see to their game. Like Luka Garza won National Player of the Year, and he was a late second round pick. So, but yeah, I think that JT Toppin would be a really nice fit for Washington, especially with the draft class that we currently have them going with the first overall pick and the last overall pick in the first round, being able to add Darryn Peterson and JT Toppin to that core of Trey Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr. I think that that's a really nice fit for them long term and what they're trying to build over there in Washington. But again, just a guy that can do a little bit of everything.
All right.
I was gonna say, I mean, what's the thoughts? Are there any players that we're looking to move up, move down? What were your favorite picks in the draft class? Let's hear it.
Yeah, JT Toppin. The last two picks I expected to go much higher. Mm-hmm. Obviously, yeah, those guys are falling. You know, I don't follow this like you do. That's why I let you run point. I let you go 1 on 5. So this is something I'll keep. You've given me who I should watch now. So, you know, I'm very familiar with the guys at the top, and then a couple of other guys. Yeah, I know Daniels obviously because of who his family is, but I don't. Yeah. I've never seen him play, right? So I can't tell you if that's high or low or right. I don't know.
Of course,
but obviously at the top 10 picks or so, it's a loaded draft class. This is
this is insane. I mean, I think you're getting a third caliber option player to your team. Let's see. I think you can go as far down as. I mean, at least on this mock draft, 25th overall because of Avadalis. But in terms of like the areas of which I think you can get a third caliber option player in terms of impact on your team, I think you could be finding talent at 21. So this is an absolutely loaded draft class. But again, we said this last year, even though a lot of guys ended up returning to college, that could be the case again this year where a couple of guys return and kind of shrink the amount of players that you can get later on in the rounds. But overall, as of right now, if everybody was to stay in this draft class, you're finding great talent 1 through 30. So this is a really impressive draft class for many to be excited about. I mean, there's not many times in the NBA draft where you can sit there as a team picking between 25 and 35, and you're like, wow, I actually have a fun prospect to build around. And this class genuinely offers that. I mean, as of right now, my big board, I've upped it to 71 players. So we will be doing, you know, bi-weekly updates to that one, re-ranking players, adding new players, taking off players. So there will be a lot of movement in terms of what we do this year with the mock drafts. But it's been fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm going to wait to do another one until Fanspo releases their 2026 mock draft. So this way I can build up my big board on there, have everything ready to go on there, and then also do lottery simulations. So we'll definitely be on the lookout for that as soon as it comes out. And then we'll probably end up doing a live mock draft as well, rather than building one out prior.
All right. I can't believe it's that time of year. I mean, it's not that time of year again. But
it's always that time of year.
Yeah, it's always that time of year. Come on now. Season. It is always mock draft season around here. That was fun, Dylan. I mean, we'll do this again. We'll do
100%.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts?
Make sure to subscribe. I know that we're on 2 different channels right now. We're also on Twitter. If you're watching on either of these, make sure to drop a follow or a subscription on either of the ones that you're watching. Nets Press Presents is going to be my personal channel. I don't utilize it very often, but I am going to try and get more and more draft content out there over on that end. For our Nets fans out here watching, feel free to drop a subscription or a follow on Twitter at BK Nothing But Nets Podcast.
Yeah, don't be gay.
Yours
Just
truly.
sub and like all the channels. Don't be gay. Like,
Don't be picky.
Like,
don't be
you
picky.
don't even have to
just
turn
tap the
notifications
like.
on if you don't want to. Just hit a sub. Like, don't be gay like that. It's a sub, okay? Don't be annoying.
Make sure to follow. Make sure to subscribe. Tap the like button. It was a pleasure as always, and we'll see you guys soon.
All right.
I was gonna say you got to hit us with the from Texas to the world. Come on now.
From Texas to the world. Thank y'all, and God bless.
Later.